Hi everyone, I'm Lori from Lori's Country Cottage, and I'm going to tell you about the How Tuesdays for this summer. What I've done is I've challenged the girls at the store to come up with their favorite tools and why they are their favorite tools and how they use them. They're going to share that with you. You know, our grandmas didn't have all the tools that we have. They used scissors, they marked everything on the fabric, they cut it out with scissors, and they used their cereal box for templates. So we have come a long way in making our quilting accurate and a lot more fun. And so all the girls are going to, each week, one of the girls is going to show you which tools they like, or tools that we think are necessities, and they will show you how to use them and why they're their favorites. So stay tuned. Velma is going to do our first one. Velma has been at Lori's Country Cottage for the longest. She came to help me out the very first week the store opened, and she's still here. So we are glad to welcome her. I'm glad to introduce Velma, and she's going to tell you about a tool that is a real necessity when you're quilting.
Hi, I'm Velma from Lori's Country Cottage, and we were given a little bit of a challenge as staff to come up with some of our favorite things that we like to use. And I was thinking, well, the most important thing that I like to use when I'm quilting is my rotary cutter. So I'm going to just show you some of the rotary cutters. Of course, I have 3 or 4 in my stash, depending on what I want to do or what place I'm at in my sewing room. But I do have an assortment of the rotary cutters over here that we use or sell here in the store, and we sell mostly the Olfa brand. We do also carry the Quilter Select as well, and so here are a few that I will show you today. First of all, they come as small as 18 millimeters, which is the little teeny guy. And it's great for cutting if you're just doing applique. Say you're doing a already laser cut applique. They always come with a little tab attached to the applique so they don't fall apart in shipping. So I always use my 18 millimeter just to slice those little tabs because it's just a nice little blade. The 28 millimeter one, I like it when I'm doing curved cutting because it won't gouge your mat. The 45 millimeter sometimes will gouge your mat, so you want to use a smaller blade for that. Then there's the 45 millimeter, and that's probably the most popular brand, and it does come in a different variety of cutters as well, which I will go through and show you the different ones here in a second. And they come in quick change blades. Then we have the 60 millimeter rotary cutter, which is the blade comes out a little bit farther, so it is nicer for cutting heavier weighted fabrics or also for more multi-layers of fabrics. And they come in a couple of different cutters as well, and I'll show you that. And then we carry the Quilter Select, and it was designed by Alex Anderson, who's a very famous quilter, I'll call her. And she had one design. She's a left-handed cutter, so she always wanted something that would cut left-handed. And it also cuts right-handed, but it is a weighted cutter, and so it's a little bit heavier in the hand, and it has rubber grips on the side, and it's a little bit thicker too. So if you have trouble with arthritis or something like that, it's a nice weighted cutter to hold, and it's an easy blade change as well. Then we also do sell all the different blades that go with the different cutters, right from the 28 millimeter up to the 60 millimeter. And then we also are selling now the new endurance blade, and it will cut twice as long, they say. And the reason for that is it's a tungsten steel, but it's been double honed to give a nice sharp blade, and it should last a little bit longer. So that's the different kinds of blades. So now, as far as the different kinds of rotary cutters, again, this is the 28 millimeter. And like I said, it's nice for cutting curves. So if you were just to be cutting a nice gentle curve, it cuts very nicely and it won't damage your mat. Sometimes I find if we're cutting sharp curves with our 45 or our 60, it just kind of takes a little gouge out of your mat. And even though we have self-healing mats, it does get underneath the first layer and it cuts that piece away. So these are both, well, all three of these are 45 millimeter. They're all different. This is a quick change blade, and so it just slides up and down like this, and the back, to change the blade, you just pull this back, the blade drops off, you're able to easily change your blade, put it back on, slide it into the hole, and slip this back on. Now, the one thing I did discover this weekend when I was getting my tools ready, this blade it was sticking out a little bit like this, and it never would shut properly. So when I took these apart and dropped my blade off, I noticed inside here, there's a lot of fluff in there, just like in our sewing machine, feed dogs gets caught up. So I took one of these handy little, they're called micro brushes. Sorry, I lost my memory there for a second. A micro brush, and I just went in and I cleaned all that lint out of there. And then I figured out why it was so tight to close. Those were packed in there very, very tightly. So then I just went ahead and I cleaned up my cutter and put my new blade on and just snap it on. So you're really not having to touch the blades at all with the quick change cutter. And these are left and right-handed. So if you're left-handed cutter, your blade is on this side when you open it. If you're right-handed cutter, you just flip it over and your blade is that way. Now this one here is called a dual cutter, and same thing, it's a quick change as well. But the thing with this one is you can open the right-handed side if you're a right-handed cutter, or you open the left-handed side if you're the left-handed cutter. So then your blade is only exposed on the side that you'll be cutting with. The other rotary cutter is the Ergonomic Cutter. And so with this one, you can hold it more straight like this. You don't have to tip it up. Like these ones you do have to, not so much with this one, but this one here, the blade is more at the top, so you do have to tip it up a little. But with the Ergo Cutter, you can cut more straight, so you're not bending on your wrist as much. And the nice thing with this one too is it has a lock on it. So you can lock this when you put it away, not in use. You push this red button down, you can squeeze the handle and then push this button. So now you're not squeezing the rotary cutter so hard trying to keep that blade out. The blade will stay out there, not a problem. When you're done, just flick the switch, lock it again before you set it down. So this one I do find a lot of people like it if they have arthritis in their hand or they have trouble with their wrist. So that's the Ergo Cutter. And these all come in the 60 and the 45, and the quick change does also come in the 28. So that's just some of the different ones that that are available. Back in the day, I guess, when our grandmothers were quilting, my grandmother would have loved to have a rotary cutter. She did everything with her scissors. So can you just imagine the technology that we have now, that we don't have to take our templates or our ruler and draw a line on everything. We can just lay our rotary cutters, our rulers onto our fabric and cut. And we have our pieces done, where they would have been sitting for hours cutting and trimming. I hope you enjoyed this and just gives you a little bit of information about my favorite tool on my table. We'll see you again soon.